Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Look here, G-Mac has made parole. He's on his way home, but he got another problem. See, folks in the penitentiary, they pissed off at him because, he been in the back in protective custody, spreading his word, trying to get everybody to walk away from that lifestyle, whether they Bloods, Crips, Vice Lord, GD, everyone, it didn't matter. He was spreading the word because he had been fired up and inspired by this dream that he had and him being able to walk away, even though he had been beaten mercilessly by the people that professed to have loved him at one particular time, the people that he had led, the people that he had taught, the people that he had set an example for as to what it means to be a gangster and how you should conduct yourself. These people beat him. The lesson in that is that you reap what you sow. And he understood that and he had accepted that. And it was a hard lesson for him, but he survived it. And he was grateful to be alive. Now what he wanted to do was to get out and continue to influence those individuals that had felt like that they, had found their calling as far as being a gangster. He wanted to convince them that they had another option. He would not settle for anything less. Not settle for anything less. He wanted them to be free like he was. But what he didn't understand is that even though he was excited and happy about what was going on with it, what he didn't understand is that people decide what's best for them in their own way, in their own time. They make their own choices. And this is what was making it difficult for him. How do you do that? How do you decide that the lifestyle that you're living is not the lifestyle that you should be living? Again, the right motivation. He had the right motivation. But see, because he was changing, it didn't mean that everybody else was changing. And I have intimate experience with that. You change your life and you think everybody sees things the way you see it. It's not like that. It's absolutely not like that. People will see your situation and get upset with you. They will get upset with you because they know that what you're doing is jeopardizing what they do. And they know that. So when G-Mac got home, he had to deal with that. He had already faced it on the inside. Now he's got to face it on the outside. He's got to deal with it. And his problem began with the individuals that put him up to kidnap the drug dealer's girlfriend, which, by the way, the drug dealer's a member now, and he's moved up in the ranks. It was the money, y'all know that, but he has moved up. And now they're going to use every avenue at their disposal to get G-Mac out the way. They did not want to hear anything that he was saying. They didn't want that message out there. They refused to believe that what he was doing was the right thing. They had given themselves over to believing that this is the life for them. And they didn't want to hear anything else from anybody, especially him. So when he came and started preaching all of this stuff, right, going to the community centers, going to the police departments, going to the churches, and doing all of this talking and inspiring people and firing people up and getting people to believe that they were the enemy. See, that wasn't his goal. He didn't want people to hate the individuals that had chosen their lifestyle because he was at one time part of the lifestyle. He was just trying to get people to understand that were in that lifestyle that it was the wrong choice. And he was proof of it. It wasn't about trying to prove that they were bad people. They were not bad people. They were misled and they were wrong about the decisions they were making. And that's what he wanted them to understand. But it's hard to convince somebody that hasn't been motivated the right way that what they were doing is wrong. So they came at him. The first thing those brothers did, they sent some young people about the age that he was when they started manipulating him. They sent them at him. And when they went at him, he had to deal with what he looked at as him being that age. How do you deal with another teenager coming at you, looking and doing the same thing that you did? How do you deal with that? Well, he faced it head on. They were sitting outside of his apartment. He pulls up on them after they had been sitting there for a few hours. And he asked them, were they looking for somebody in particular? He knew they were looking for him. And they said, nah, we just chilling. He looked at him, he said, you just chilling, huh? And they were like, yeah, we just chilling. So he said, okay. He said, I tell you what, whenever you get ready to talk, come on with it. They looked at him, both of them stern face, showing them their teeth, and they said, we ain't here to talk. He said, what are you here to do? They didn't understand what was going on, but whatever it was, they were like incapable of doing anything. They felt paralyzed. They felt paralyzed at what was going on. So they left. They pulled off. He said they won't be back. Because he knew what it was like when he was a kid, when in situations like that. You think you know what you're doing. You think you're making the right decision. You think you're doing all the things that you're supposed to do. But what you don't understand, is that you're still a child doing childish things. And you start to believe that you're making the right decisions for the right reasons, but you're really not. And what you end up doing is getting caught up in a situation that ain't good for you. So he faced kids like a grown man should. And they ran. Yeah, they were gangsters. They were trying to prove themselves. But see, he didn't have anybody confront him like that. They knew his pedigree. They knew where he came from. They knew he was familiar with that lifestyle. And he came straight at them like a gangster would. But he didn't go as a gangster. Wait a minute. I'm finna say something. He went as a disciple. Figure that out. And it ain't what you think. But it spooked them nonetheless. They didn't know what to think. They didn't even know what to do. So now, the heads of the organization on the streets, they got sick of it, right? They beat those young boys because they didn't put in work and take care of the business. They yelled at them, screamed at them, and beat them and told them, y'all scared, you punks, you cowards, you can't do nothing. I shouldn't have sent a boy to do a man's job. All of these different types of things that made them feel like they were less than. And now they were eager to prove themselves, but they wasn't going to get another chance because they knew, the leaders, they knew that dealing with somebody like G-Mac, they couldn't be playing. See, they were still seeing him as the person that he was, not the person that he had become. They didn't see him that way. So this time they tried another approach. They went to the brother that G-Mac kidnapped his gal, right? He's a brother now, right? Listen to what I'm trying to tell y'all. They went to him and they told him, look, man, do whatever you want to do to get your lick back against G-Mac, man, for kidnapping your girlfriend with your son in her belly back in the day. And she played her role manipulating the scene and saying, ain't you going to do something? Ain't you going to do something? And he finally did. He sent some dudes at him, paid him some money and all this and that, right? It didn't matter. They beat G-Man up. They roughed him up real good and all this and that. G-Mac. They roughed G-Mac. I keep on switching at y'all, but it's G-Mac, okay? They roughed G-Mac up real bad, and he just laughed at him. He said, ain't nothing you can do to hurt me. Don't get it twisted. He was bruised and battered. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm not telling you that you should take a beating like that. I'm just telling you his story. See, you can share somebody's story, right? But you got to get the lesson in it. What happened to him and how it happened to him, it may not be intended for you that way. At all. So don't literally think that you should be beaten by anybody for any reason. You feel me? That's how he dealt with it. I don't want y'all to be confused by what I'm saying. As they say, don't hear what I'm not saying. Please don't. Because that's not what I'm trying to do. You understand what I'm saying? Now here's another thing. So he went through that and he got beat. But he still kept going and talking to the schools and going to the juvenile centers. And he went back to the juvenile center and he was talking to the same old kids that he had been talking to before, right? Now they were locked up. You feel me? Them two dudes that were sitting outside his apartment that he confronted, they were locked up now. And if you want to hear how that turns out, you're going to have to tune in to the next episode, y'all. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.
I'm getting